The bear was too weak to fight back. Blood matted its fur. The rope around its neck cut deeper with each panicked breath, and the man who tied it there simply walked away. The forest held its breath. The trees stood tall and silent, watching as the man dragged the bear across the uneven ground. His boots crunched over brittle twigs and damp leaves, but he moved with mechanical indifference, as if towing a broken machine rather than a living creature. The bear stumbled behind him, every step a cruel battle between agony and survival. Her legs trembled with fever, and her breath came in harsh, shallow bursts. A deep gash, fresh and raw, ran along her hind leg, leaving a trail of blood behind her. She wasn't fighting him. She couldn't. Her body was burning from within, muscles twitching involuntarily, vision swimming in and out of focus. Whatever strength she had left had been drained miles ago. The man stopped at a clearing, a patch of dead space between the trees, surrounded by thick brush. Isolated. Quiet. Hidden. Perfect. Without a word, he jerked the rope, forcing the bear to collapse at the base of an old pine. Her body hit the dirt with a heavy thud. She groaned, head low to the ground, chest heaving. He wrapped the rope around the trunk several times, pulled it tight, then tied a thick knot with cold precision. The rope bit into her neck with each breath. Her front legs sprawled forward, her back legs could barely twitch. There was nothing left in her but pain and resignation. From a worn canvas bag slung across his shoulder, the man tossed out a few scraps of meat. Dry, graying, barely edible. Then he stood. No hesitation. No remorse. He looked down at the bear for a long moment, and for a second it seemed as though he might say something. Apologize. Justify. Whisper something cruel. But he didn't. He only turned away, slowly vanishing back into the forest the way he'd come. He looked back once, not at her eyes, just at the knot. Satisfied, he disappeared into the woods. The silence returned, colder than before. The bear tried to move. She lifted her head half an inch and let it drop again. Her breathing had grown ragged, and her nose twitched faintly as she smelled the blood in the soil beneath her. The wound in her leg was deep, possibly from a trap. Insects were already drawn to it, buzzing around the crusting edges. She was shaking, not from cold, but from fever. The sun filtered through the canopy above, sending pale rays down across her mangled fur. She was young, not yet old enough to fully understand what was happening, but old enough to know this was a death sentence. Her ears twitched. The sound came again. Low, distant, predatory. A howl. Her eyes snapped open. Another howl. Closer, echoing between the trees. Wolves. Her body tensed, instincts screaming in panic even though her limbs wouldn't obey. She lifted her head and gave a desperate cry. Not a roar, not a growl. A plea. One long, pained moan that traveled through the trees like smoke through air. Nothing answered. No animal in the wild would come near. The scent of death was already on her. She pulled at the rope. It didn't budge. Her claws scraped against the ground, drawing lines in the dirt. Her hind leg jerked once before collapsing under her. Her vision blurred again. The sun was dipping lower, and the forest was starting to change. Birds grew quiet. The rustle of leaves faded. The world narrowed to three things: her fever, the pain in her leg, and the encroaching presence of death carried on the breath of hungry wolves. She could hear them now. Pads on the ground. Low growls. They were circling just beyond the clearing. She turned her head slowly and saw one. Yellow eyes, gray coat, teeth glinting in the soft light. Watching. Waiting. Her heart pounded so loudly it echoed in her ears. Her claws dug into the dirt again, this time not to escape, but to prepare. If this was it, she would not go silently. But even that thought faded as her eyes began to close. Her body could no longer keep up with her instincts. Her breath slowed and her head dropped once more to the dirt. Everything was slipping away. Miles away, a pair of boots moved through the underbrush at a steady pace. Elias adjusted the strap of his backpack and whistled low to his dog, a black and brown mutt named Jasper. The dog trotted a few feet ahead, tail wagging lazily, sniffing at every tree root and mushroom patch they passed. It was supposed to be a quiet hike, a chance to clear his head, breathe clean air, get away from the chaos of the world for a few hours. He'd taken this trail a dozen times, but today something felt off. The forest was still, too still, like it was holding something back. Jasper stopped suddenly, ears perked. He growled, a deep, rumbling sound that made Elias pause. "What is it, buddy?" Elias asked softly. Then he heard it, a howl. Not far, not loud, but enough to send chills down his spine. Another, then something else. A sound that didn't belong in this part of the forest. A moan. Not human, not quite animal, somewhere in between. Jasper took off running. "Jasper! Hey!" Elias chased after him, ducking under branches, hopping over fallen logs. His heart raced, adrenaline rising with every step. Something was wrong. Jasper never bolted like that. The sounds grew louder as he ran, more growls, more howling. Then, suddenly, silence. He burst into a clearing and froze. A bear, huge, wounded, tied to a tree. Elias stared, breath caught in his throat. The bear was still, too still. Her fur was matted with blood and a thick rope cut into her neck. She was breathing, barely. Wolves. He saw them now, on the edge of the trees. 3 of them. 4. Pacing. Watching. Waiting for the final breath to leave her body. Jasper barked fiercely, standing between Elias and the predators. Jasper barked fiercely, standing between Elias and the predators. Elias didn't move. He couldn't. The scene was unreal, like something out of a nightmare. His eyes darted to the bear again. She opened one eye. It met his. No rage, no threat, just fear. She wasn't the danger here. She was the victim. And he had seconds to decide what to do. Jasper barked again. The wolves took a step forward. Elias reached for his bag. End of section 1. Cliffhanger. Elias has seconds to choose. Run or intervene. Elias's hands trembled as he fumbled through his backpack. The wolves edged closer, creeping through the brush with cold, clinical hunger. Their glowing eyes flickered through the shadows like coals. Jasper barked again, high-pitched and urgent. There wasn't time. Elias yanked out the emergency flare, twisted the cap, and struck it against the rock at his feet. Ah, whoosh. The flare ignited with a searing hiss, spilling red light in every direction. For an instant, the entire clearing was bathed in hellfire. The wolves froze. Their eyes widened, ears flattened. A single crackle from the flare sent them leaping backward into the trees, vanishing into the dark like ghosts. The light danced against the trunks, their shadows clawing across the forest floor as they retreated. Silence returned. Thicker now, more tense than before. Elias exhaled shakily. The smoke from the flare coiled in the air, acrid and hot. Then he looked at her. The bear hadn't moved. She lay twisted at the base of the tree, her chest rising and falling with shallow, labored effort. Her head was still turned toward him. One eye was open, barely, its light dulled by pain and exhaustion. She didn't snarl, didn't flinch, just watched. Elias stepped closer, slowly, his boots crunching softly over the leaves. He knelt a few feet away, keeping low, non-threatening. The damage was worse up close. The rope had cut deep into her neck. Dark, dried blood caked the fur, and her breathing was faint. Her hind leg, wrapped in crusted crimson, was swollen and likely infected. A faint, sour smell rose from the wound. But what struck Elias most was her expression. Not rage, not fear, resignation. She had given up. He swallowed, trying to push back the lump in his throat. "You're a she-bear, huh?" he murmured, mostly to himself. "Who did this to you?" She blinked slowly. That was all. He looked down at his phone. No signal. Not surprising. Even if he could call someone, what would he say? That he'd found a bear, tied and bleeding? That she was barely alive? That wolves had nearly finished what a man had started? Animal control would come with rifles, not rescue kits, and she wouldn't survive a tranquilizer shot, not in this condition. Elias stared at her, torn. He had no medical training. He wasn't a wildlife expert. What right did he have to get involved? But then her paw twitched, almost involuntarily, like she was trying to reach for something. Her body curled inward in pain, and a low, pained whimper slipped from her throat. That sound shattered whatever wall Elias had left. He made his decision. Carefully, slowly, he reached into his pack and pulled out a multi-tool knife. "All right," he whispered, "let's get this off you." He moved closer, inch by inch, watching her eyes the entire time. If she so much as bared her teeth, he'd back away. But she didn't. She watched him, not with threat but with something else, something tired, something trusting. The blade slipped under the rope. He saw where it had cut through layers of fur and into raw skin. He winced. "Hold on, girl," he whispered. "Almost there." The rope was thick and wet, sticky with blood. He sliced through the first layer, then the second, slowly unwinding it from her neck. With each loop removed, her breathing seemed to ease, just a fraction. She didn't move. When the last knot came free, the rope dropped to the ground with a soft thump. Elias tossed it aside like it was poison. Her gaze never left his. He knelt there for a long moment, unsure what came next. The flare had gone out, leaving only fading trails of smoke. The clearing was dim again, and night was falling fast. She needed shelter. So did he. Elias stood and looked around. A few yards away, a fallen tree created a natural break in the underbrush. He walked over, cleared a small patch of ground, and began setting up the emergency tarp he kept in his bag. A few branches, some twine, and the tarp stretched between the tree and a rock, forming a crude but functional tent. Next came the fire. He built it quickly, fingers moving with practiced efficiency, striking the flint until sparks took to the kindling. The warmth spread fast. Smoke curled upward. Jasper settled beside the fire, still watchful, ears perked toward the shadows. Then Elias turned back to the bear. She hadn't moved. "Come on," he said gently. "You're free now." But she didn't rise. Her legs trembled, but she couldn't lift herself. He grabbed a large stick and cleared a wide path from her to the fire, dragging leaves, dirt, and rocks aside. Then he returned and gently took one of her front paws. She flinched slightly but didn't pull away. "Easy," he said. She tried to rise. Her body shook violently, her back leg barely responding. But somehow, with his voice low and steady, she dragged herself across the dirt, inch by painful inch, until she collapsed just a few feet from the fire. Jasper growled low, but stayed put. Elias poured some bottled water into a plastic cap and slid it toward her. She sniffed it, blinked, then slowly extended her tongue. She drank. Not greedily, not desperately, just deliberately, like she still didn't believe it was real. "Good girl," Elias said softly. "You made it." He looked at her again, the shape of her snout, the streak of gray along her side, the soft glint of amber in her left eye, and something stirred deep in his chest. Not fear, not awe. Recognition. He knew that look, that exhaustion, that quiet plea for someone, anyone, to care. And he remembered. The hallway was silent, too quiet for a hospital. Elias sat on the bench, hands clasped tight, staring at the floor. His younger sister had been inside for hours. She was thin, too thin, her skin pale. The doctors had asked questions. Too many. Where were her parents? Had anyone seen the signs? Why didn't someone come sooner? But it was already too late. She was gone before he could say goodbye.